memory page inserted in their yearbook to remember 2 deceased classmates. The administration says they can only place their most recent photos in the senior section with their date of birth and death.
What we have not gone to is the memorial page that has a number of pictures and is seen by us as maybe getting into the glorification of death, and we're very concerned about that.
The administration met with the students this afternoon, but a large group walked out when the principal didn't show. Another meeting and possible walkout is planned for tomorrow morning. We'll have more on this story coming up on Eyewitness News at 6.
Hundreds of hometown students sitting out of school. That's at 5:13. Park High students in Cottage Grove look back at their 1998 annual. They'll remember it as the year they walked out of school in protest. Risking suspension from school, more than 300 students walked out of class and spent the day at a park, Nina's Park, a place appropriate for their cause.
We didn't want to come down to this, but this is what it came down to.
The Park High class of 1998 is asking for a memorial page published in their yearbook, a page dedicated to 2 members of the class whose young lives ended too soon. Christina Nina Westmoreland, killed by a drunk driver in 1995, and Adam Ruley, who committed suicide last August.
I don't see how one page could influence anyone.
A page the Park High principal says is inappropriate.
Our conservative approach to this is trying to honor them as members of the class, and as we do with all the other seniors, but not to take it to extreme.
We don't want to glorify death or to encourage it. We simply want to remember them in our hearts.
By late afternoon, some signs of progress emerged. School administrators agreed to meet with a group of 5 students before school on Thursday to try to resolve the issue. And students say if they don't get what they want,
Well, then I'll be back outside, across the street.
and Principal Lysak says the district may need to look at creating a district-wide policy regarding yearbooks and student deaths.
Face for leaving class to take a stand.
For them today, because if they get their page, then we'll get ours.
The district may have to look at a district policy for yearbooks on student deaths.
School administrators and a group of student representatives are meeting tomorrow morning to try and resolve the issue.
Park High School in Cottage Grove walked out of school this morning in what they say is a fight for 2 fallen friends. Channel 5's John Stone has the story.
They deserve a page. We want a page for the yearbook!
Yeah. At Park High today, a page from the past flipped toward the present. The past, 2 students who would have been seniors here. Christina Westmoreland, killed in a car crash, and Adam Ruley, who took his own life after a debilitating football injury playing for Park.
He's precious. He's our angel.
The present is the wish of one parent, Nancy Ruley. And the demand of several hundred students that the school yearbook include a special in-memory page for Adam and Christina, who would have graduated this year.
No, this is affecting the whole school. You know, there's a lot of people who care.
Because they would be right in here in sequence.
School principal Walt Lysak says he'll allow Adam and Christina's most recent pictures placed in the yearbook senior section with the dates of their births and deaths.
What we have not gone to is the memorial page that has a number of pictures and is seen by us as maybe getting into the glorification of death.
We're not glorifying death. We're keeping the memory alive. They'll give a teacher a page, but they won't give a student.
Students point to past Park High yearbooks, a memory page for a teacher, a long-ago tribute to a student, as the endurance of those messages well into the future. John Stone, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Cottage Grove.
Well, late this afternoon, the administration agreed to meet with students and parents, but a large group walked out when the principal didn't show up.
Without Mr. Lysak here, we are not going to discuss this, or this will not take place until he is here, and this will all start over.
Police stepped in and set up another meeting for tomorrow morning with student representatives and staff. The Cottage Grove students say if their request is not granted in writing, they will walk out again. And they tell us they plan to fight for as long as it takes.
Just something to celebrate their life in our yearbook so we can pull it out and remember it.
Nina and Adam will be pictured with other seniors and in the ad section, but the principal says no memorial.
One of our concerns is that we have a number of students that are at risk, and we're concerned very seriously about teenage depression and suicide.
I think it's just an excuse, him saying, you know, I don't want to glorify death. That's just his excuse to not help us out.
The demonstrators moved indoors with more harsh words for their principal, but one expert says they're missing something.
This is really seductive.
The U of M's Ralph Rickgarn says memorial pages send the wrong message to some teens.
Who is going, geez, nobody likes me, nobody cares about me. Wow, if I committed suicide, then I would get a page in the yearbook.
This exercise in democracy will cost the kids a day suspension. Don't look for it to make the yearbook either. Now, the reason this is all boiling over right now is that Friday is the publication deadline for the 98 yearbook. And tomorrow morning, the principal will meet with a committee of students to try to find some middle ground. Paul and Diana, the principal says that his main issue is that he thinks all students should be treated the same, whether they're living or dead.
All right, thanks, John.
Memorial page in the yearbook.
It's our memories. It's our memories with our friends, and so I don't think that it's right that they're taking that away from us.
The students point out a teacher who died got a memorial a few years ago.
This is the yearbook from 1975, Park High, graduating class 75, memorial. Bam, right there.
I'm crushed that the kids have to go through this.
This is the mother of the young man who committed suicide.
I think there should be a page. My son was a big part of that school.
And where we're at is we're stuck in the middle. We're trying to be sensitive, but it's very, very difficult.
Principal Walt Lysak is worried about glorifying death. He remembers how many teenagers fixated on the death of rock star Kurt Cobain.
Our concern is the copycat situation, and how many students would fall into that. Even one would be too many.
Lysak says the yearbook can include class pictures of the two students, as well as tributes in the ad section. But classmates want an entire page.
And I think we will win and get what we want.
School leaders hope to avoid more confrontations like today's with big groups of students. So tomorrow, first thing in the morning, they'll sit down with 5 selected students to try and hammer out some agreement. Callie?
Mike, do those students who walked out today face suspensions?
They sure do. One-day suspensions, all of them, and that's a lot of students who are going to be suspended at the same time. We haven't heard yet when those suspensions take effect.
Thank you, Mike.
Protest today at the school. More than 300 students walked out of Park High of Cottage Grove. They're upset because the administrators don't want a memorial photo in the yearbook. It's for two students who died. One killed himself. One was killed by a drunk driver. School leaders worry that it might memorialize by glamorizing the deaths. Both sides will meet on Thursday.
Park High and Cottage Grove are claiming victory.
We will discuss and make our page.
Yes, their yearbook will have a special page dedicated to 2 members of the class of 1998 who died. One student committed suicide. School officials had feared allowing a memorial page would encourage copycat deaths. School leaders and students were able to reach a compromise.
Yeah, I think that it gives a lot of students a lot of strength to show that you can make it through and that people are going to stand by you no matter what.
This addresses the death of the students, but does not glorify the death of the students.
The design of the memorial page is still being worked out. 2 deceased students included in their yearbook, but since one of those students had committed suicide, the school didn't want the page because administrators feared it would spur copycat suicide. Well, the kids wouldn't accept that, so they marched out of school in protest. Today was the second day of the walkout, but as these students protested outside, 5 others met with school administrators, parents, and a grief counselor for 3.5 hours to hammer out an agreement. And in the end, that agreement favored the kids.
And we basically just came to an agreement about creating a page, a memoriam page or a memorial page, and that we will talk about together. We will have a little committee, and we will create our page.
While the kids will be allowed to have their memorial page, the school will maintain strict control over its content. Administrators say they want the page to be respectful, but it must not glorify death. As for the kids who protested, they'll receive 1-day suspension. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Kim Pletica.
Memorial to students in the suburban high school yearbook. Tonight, hear what punishment the students face for leaving class. Memorial to students in the school yearbook. The students will get the memorial page, but tonight the principal plans to hand hundreds of students a 1-day suspension. Good evening. Some kids say it is a small price to pay for success. A 1-day suspension for standing up for what they believe in. Channel 5's Kim Pletica joins us now with the outcome of the protest. And it sounds, Kim, as though the kids basically got what they wanted.
They absolutely did, Chris. Scores of kids walked out of class yesterday because the school wouldn't let them include a memorial page for 2 deceased students in the yearbook. That protest continued today, and in the end, it paid off. Day 2 of the Park High protest dawned like a party. Scores of students spilled into the streets, waving posters and cheering as cars honked in response. Despite the party atmosphere, the kids were here for a serious reason.
Because Nina and Adam deserve a page in the yearbook.
The kids wanted to give a page to those students because they died and they wanted to remember them. But the administration refused because one of the students had committed suicide.
We're afraid of and concerned with glorifying this kid's death would cause other students to feel that was acceptable or that was something that they would want to do.
Instead of a memorial page, the school wanted to include the deceased students in the senior photo section and the senior ad section. But the students refused, saying it wasn't enough. During today's protest, the administration met with 5 students, as well as with teachers, parents, and grief counselors. To win their case, the kids had to cut the fun.
We are so close. We are this far away from getting what we want. You need to stop.
The kids stopped yelling until they heard the news. They had won.
We are getting the page. Well, that's what we wanted. I couldn't be happier.
Now, the kids may be getting their page, but the administration is careful to point out that this was a compromise. The kids originally wanted 2 pages, but they're getting just 1. Not only that, the administration has the ultimate say about what goes on that page, and the principal tells me he will make sure it is respectful and doesn't glorify death. Chris?
And as far as the kids who walk out of school to protest, what's going to happen to them?
Well, the kids are going to be suspended, all of those who walked out of school yesterday. They'll be suspended for 1 day, but they won't face any action for skipping their classes today.
All right, Kim, thank you. But administrators did not want the page because one of the students committed suicide, and they feared it would spur copycats.
And we basically just came to an agreement about creating a page, a memoriam page or a memorial page, and that we will talk about together. We will have a little committee, and we will create our page.
So they eventually got their page approved. Administrators say they want to work together with the students so they can oversee how the page looks when it's finally put together.
Over the last 2 days, students at Park High and Cottage Grove staged a walkout over this issue. They did it again this morning. School leaders had said no to the memorial pages because one of the students committed suicide.
We're afraid of and concerned with glorifying this kid's death would cause other students to feel that was acceptable or that was something that they would want to do.
Well, this morning, student representatives reached a compromise with school administrators. They will get 1 page, and the staff will monitor its design.
For 2 classmates and learned a life lesson in the process. 4 hours of negotiations this morning ended a 2-day walkout by hundreds of students. They were upset over the administration's refusal to allow a yearbook page honoring 2 classmates who had died. School officials feared such a gesture would glorify or romanticize death, but today they gave the memorial page the green light. The principal says the young activists earned it.
The organization and the way they went about it, the way they called all the media, they have learned the lessons that we've taught over the years very well.
The students who walked out all face a 1-day suspension for their disobedience.
The students at Park High School in Cottage Grove walked out of class because their principal wouldn't let them have a memorial page in their yearbook. But the students will now get that special page dedicated to 2 students who died. One was killed by a drug driver and the other committed suicide. The principal originally stopped the page because he thought it would glorify the suicide.